such design work. Yeah, you're basically walking into Conor's trees, so let's hear a little bit about that.
Thank you, John. Hello, thank you everybody for coming. So, welcome to Funeral for Ashes. This is an art piece, a project that is about a subject dear to our hearts, which is essentially the mismanagement of the Irish woodlands, control of which we have placed largely into the hands of a for-profit logging company called Cuilcha. And we're, oh, my bad. So, Cuilcha are managing the woodlands in Ireland. 90% of our forests are non-native Sitka spruce. I don't know if anybody's ever kind of traversed these kind of tree plantations, but if you have, you're not going to hear a bird sing, you're not going to really see any creatures walking through an ecosystem, because there is no ecosystem in a monoculture, which is what we've kind of populated our country with. Ireland has by far the lowest tree coverage on the continent of Europe by a really huge margin. The average, woodlands coverage in continental Europe is about 38%. In Ireland, it is 11%, and it's only 1.5% native trees. The Sitka spruce plantations are not really forests. They acidify the soil, they acidify the rivers. You could cut them all down tomorrow and try to plant native trees, and you would find that the pH level of the soil wouldn't allow our own trees to grow. So it's a really dire situation. In 2019, Cuilcha began importing infected ash trees because we had kind of glutted our own farmers, our own tree nurseries so heavily with the Sitka spruce that we began importing ash trees instead of growing them. These trees were infected, and now every ash tree in the country is infected with an airborne fungus that we're calling ash dieback. So it's called Funeral for Ashes, and maybe there's not a lot that we can do for the ash tree at this stage, but there is a lot that we can still do for the Irish woodlands. For example, buying up large swathes of land, trying to rewild. So that's a little bit of the context for this piece. We'll get into the, what we're looking at, how it all works, and then kind of return back to the context in a moment. So we're going to lead you into a room next door. Step away from this. You're going to see ceiling mounted projectors. You're going to see the floor and 3 walls are kind of receiving projected images. All of this is being real-time generated, as is the audio. So people have been coming in and out for the last couple of days. They haven't seen the same thing twice. They haven't heard the same thing twice. It's kind of alive. It's breathing. Your motion is being tracked by depth sensing cameras on the ceiling. So we're going to have to kind of figure this out collectively as you walk around the room. Movements like this, nice and slow movements up into the air with your hands and down again. Can rotate the trees. You can control leaves on the back wall, the movement of them. But much like the preservation of the Irish woodlands, this requires collaboration. If everybody kind of goes in and starts counteracting each other with different movements, something insane is going to happen. Whereas if we all kind of work together, we'll find that we're the ones that are actually in control of the forests. So we're free to take any questions. I guess the only other thing that I would say, well, one more point that I would make is that John and I had a great time going into the woods, scanning trees, getting 3D scans of these trees, putting them in the software. Highly recommended. Go get them while they're still there. It's good for you. It's good for your head to walk through the woods and to kind of appreciate them. And this piece is essentially a tribute, to the forests. It's a tribute. It is a funeral for ashes, and it is a call to action that we return to a mindset that we once had in this place, in this land, where we kind of treated our woodlands with reverence, and with respect, and with love. Yeah, thank you. I'll pass over to John.
So if there are any questions? Are Cuilcha trying to do anything to Are Cuilcha trying to do anything to right the wrong they've done?
Yeah.
In Wicklow and in all over the country.
It's a great question. So Cuilcha claim that they're, undergoing this major afforestation scheme. But recently we saw that one of the schemes, the initiatives that they've taken to quote unquote, undergo afforestation in Ireland, part of which is supposed to be native woodland repopulation, involved selling 5,000 hectares of Irish land to a British hedge fund called Gresham House. Gresham House are under no obligation to plant native trees. The most profitable type of tree to plant here is Sitka spruce. 90% of that is exported. None of it is good for construction. It's all kind of used for pulp and MDF and chemical treated wood. So no, I would say not. You know, like wheelchair has been found to be illegally spraying fertilizer at 4 times the legal limit, you know, leading to the complete collapse of an ecosystem of mussels in the Una River, for example, one of many examples, you know. I know fishermen here in Galway who avoid wheelchair woods because the rivers are acidic, there are dead fish in there, it's a biohazard, you know. So I would say no, they haven't. There was a subsidiary, you know, aspect of wheelchair that was assigned with rewilding specifically, and that branch of wheelchair has been shut down. So no, I would say that, you know, they're not. They are obliged to, as they continue to sow these kind of wastelands, as far as I'm concerned. You know, part of that is supposed to be native trees. We've seen them not keep their word when it comes to the legal limit of fertilizers. They're selling off. I mean, the amount of land that they sold to Gresham House is, I think it's about 120 square kilometers. It's twice the size of Galway City gone. You know. So it's a good question. In my opinion, no, they're not. They're making matters worse. And I guess what else can we expect when a logging company is the one that's also managing the woods and the stewardship of nature in the country? It's a great question. No, in my opinion, is the answer. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
I know. I'm sorry. Me neither. You know, I would prefer to have a different subject for this piece. You know.
Other questions?
Adam.
So is ash dieback a global phenomenon, or is that something that's just local? Like where were those trees imported from, and are ash trees going extinct globally?
Yes, good question. Yep. There are dozens of species of ash trees. I think we have 16 in Ireland, and 3 of them are native, to my knowledge. You know. Yes, it's international. I think it came from Asia originally, but we were the last country in Europe to get it. You know, in 2019, and it had spread to the UK. But because we had, you know, the sea barrier, we had been insulated from it up to that point, and it was a Dutch nursery that had, because it's continental Europe, it spreads in the air. So we imported them from the Netherlands, and again, the government, I think, quote, has said it's a mystery why we have ash dieback in this country, but they do, you know, they will publish these 2 separate facts, that one, you know, in 2019, Wheelchair imported all of these sick ash trees infected with dieback, and that was February. 4 months later, you know, every ash tree in the country is starting to show signs. So every tree now in Ireland has this fungus. If you cut down an ash tree, it explodes spores, and you're actually going to see a visual representation. What we've done is made 3D models that are point clouds. They explode into particulate, and that is the reason for that visual choice. I don't know if it's literally every country in the world, but yes, it is international, certainly throughout all of Europe. And there's no vaccine. Some of the trees are showing resilience. We're expecting maybe 10% of these trees to survive, maybe. But even if they do survive, this is the thing. Even if the ash tree survives, 1.5% of Ireland has got forests and the rest of it doesn't. So, so what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like we're, trying to save one tree when the whole biome is kind of being harvested is meaningless, in my opinion. And we need to be doing a lot more. I'll get off my little soapbox. It's a good question. Yes, it's a very, it's an international issue, and ash trees are indeed going extinct. Certainly in Ireland. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
How do we get back on speaker, Valerie? 1, 2, 1, 2. We got this lady here.
Thanks, John. Yeah, just one thing. First of all, you're getting such an important message across with this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I'm wondering, is this only for the Galway Arts Festival? Can you take this with you to other cities?
Yeah, we're working on it. So we're going to be inviting people down from Imam. It's still kind of it's still under discussion. We're going to get this kind of under our belt first. We have a website and an Instagram account. We're going to be trying to solicit a petition and an email ticket to the government in collaboration with NGOs. So for now, we're just going to focus on getting this over the line, getting it done, making sure everyone kind of has a nice immersive experience, feels that connection to the woods, and then afterwards, absolutely, we aim to kind of to propagate it and take it on tour and show it to other places. And just in as many ways as we can, just kind of spread awareness, spread the message. So I hope that this will not be the last install of Funeral for Ashes. Yeah. Yeah.
Any further questions out there? Don't be shy.
There's one more question here.
What programs did you use for the piece, actually?
What programs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So good question. Yes. So lots and lots of nerdy software for the rendering. So we used. I scanned the trees with a drone, and that sounds kind of, the hard part of that is just not crashing the drone. Yeah. So it's just flying around and taking pictures. So then I used Agisoft Metashape to compile 3D. Yeah, that's the one. Cloud Compare to edit the point clouds, and then Touch Designer. Really great software, really good to use. And then John will talk about his own software for the generative music as well. So yes, maybe 3 or 4 different types of software. Good question. Thanks, man. Yeah. Any other questions? We can hand it over to John.
Conor's getting a bit tired of talking.
For once ever, you know.
Guys, thanks a million for coming down. I'm responsible for the audio that's going on that you can hear sort of whistling in the background. It's produced on a piece of software called Bitwig. If any of you are familiar with Ableton, this is the same engineers that made Ableton, sold Ableton, and then made a DAW that they actually wanted to make. So I would highly recommend it. Nobody uses it. I love it, and it speaks to Touch Designer in a really unique and kind of native way. I'm using a system called Polygrid, which just procedurally generates the audio randomly in the background. It's tuned to the frequency 432, which is generally perceived to be the woo-woo resonant frequency of the universe. Okay, what it actually is back in the 1800s, some Austrian decided that he wanted A natural to be 440. The people that make pianos and violins, etc., they decided to standardize it over the course of the 20th century. And that is why A natural is at 440. Prior to all of that, it was at 435. It fluctuated, but generally 435 is associated with the feeling of well-being, healing. You'll get a sense of it in here, I hope. It's a little bit woo-woo, I'll grant you, but you can't escape the fact that you feel pretty good after about 5 minutes in there. It's maybe got something to do with Conor's visuals. A little bit, but you know, it's pretty cool. It's been a privilege and an honor to get a look inside the man's cranium. Disturbing sometimes. For the last 3 weeks, I think the two of us have, every time we close our eyes, we see these scenes in here. And I'm hoping that will be the same for you guys, because it is, as Conor said, a reminder. One of the things that he mentioned to me, I didn't know about Ash Dieback until I met my esteemed colleague, and one of the things that he told me was that in Brehon law, the ash tree it had the same rights as a human being. Right? These are our people, these are our trees, that's our history. And we have a logging company looking after that. Are you guys stupid? I don't feel stupid. I feel like I've been hoodwinked, you know, so I think that we have to be, in whatever way we can, pissed off, you know. I know this lady knows how to do it. She's famous in Galway. She attacks warplanes. That is the kind of attitude. That is the kind of hero's attitude and warrior attitude that we need to have going forward, you know. This is a peaceful thing. At the funeral for Ashes, it's not a morose funeral. It's like the Irish wake, you know what I mean? It's just here to kind of generate awareness and allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to feel angry about this, I think. Don't have much more to say about it. Maybe you guys would like to, we can check it out and we can discuss it further then, maybe?
What's that? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys. If there are any questions, by the way, we're here to answer questions. Apparently, I told Conor if any of my friends were here and I see two of them, they'd ask me what's the difference between a sausage and a frankfurter. They haven't yet, but the day is young.
There's a question over there.
Yeah, no. Where?
How did this collaboration come about?
Between myself and Conor?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I was hanging down in the West End, where I am often to be found. And there's a place called the West End Art Collective, run by our very good friend Charlotte Teresh, a lunatic and a tattoo artist. And he was, Conor, you can't see it here, but he is 90% thug. It's covered by a t-shirt, but you can see through him. It's quite remarkable. He was basically strapped to a chair while I walked into the place. Captive audience, I think is what you call it. So we had a couple of hours where we sort of chatted, and then we met for a couple of drinks, and we collaborated about 2 years ago on an installation as part of the Mindscapes exhibition over the university, which was super interesting and technically challenging, and I think we discovered that we had sort of parallels in how we like to express the ideas that we have. And we were lucky enough to kind of be able to continue that. Conor got stuck into Touch Designer in a huge way, and this is the fruit of that. This is our collaboration. That's where it came from.
That piece was called Oscillation. Was about kind of cognitive impairment and mania under, in bipolar disorder. It ended up being the subject of an academic case study and also separately of an academic paper. And we were toured to Portugal to show it off at a neuroscience conference. So I hit the ground running there, and I've just been working together since. Yeah. You.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know that you. I know that you touched on the fact that ash trees were considered human, don't have
Yeah.
the same rights as human in ground law. So can you expand a bit more why you picked the ash tree as a subject for this piece?
Yeah, so unfortunately it is just because they're going extinct, you know, but they were one of the 7 sacred trees. There's not a ton that we know about Gaelic and kind of pre-Gaelic, quote-unquote Celtic culture and worship, because a lot of that was kind of oral history. Obviously got sort of lost as we were, you know, colonized, as did the culture that respected these trees in the first place. You know, people kind of have a habit of blaming our next door neighbours for cutting down all the trees, and while that may have been the precursor, we have continued doing that, you know, and I guess you know, the mindset that was imposed here after colonialism, you know, we were severed from the culture that did worship these trees as people. So the ash is one of the 7 trees that were worshipped. You know, and it's not just in Ireland. So for example, Lugh, one of the Tuatha Danann, the son of Manannán, the god of the sea, his staff is said to be made of ash. The Druids often carved ash staffs according to oral history. But then moving beyond Ireland, you know, like Yggdrasil, the world tree in Norse mythology is an ash tree. The sacred tree at the hill of Ishnach, which is the cultural centre of Ireland, is an ash tree, or was an ash tree before it was cut down. And that was, you know, it's the highest point in Ireland. It's where the bonfire was lit for the anointment of the High King of Ireland. Beside a huge ash tree. So they do have a really, really important, even if we don't necessarily understand the ins and outs of why they were worshipped, we know that they had this huge impact on us, you know. So that is the reason they are a sacred tree, but also just it is the fact that they are, even within the decimated Irish forests, they are the one that are the worst off. They are going to go extinct, or if not, they were going to be left with a very small number of resilient trees that are themselves kind of living within a diminishing ecosystem every day. So that is the reason. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries, anyways. Yeah. Yeah.
Going a little bit more techy on you.
Okay, do it, Jeff. Yeah.
There's sensors up on the installation in there, obviously, and they're picking up, is it the movement, and does it also pick up audio from within the room, or is it just the movement?
Good question.
And then does that feed into the visuals or feed into the audio first? So
Excellent, good.
what triggers?
What's going on here? You know, yeah.
Is it the motion triggers the images, which then triggers the music?
So yes, essentially yes. There's a few things going on in terms of the generative nature of the piece. There are cameras in the ceiling. They're called Orbeck femtovolt cameras. They're time of flight laser sensors. So what they do is track motion. There's a software that essentially measures, you know, the hand going down, walking on the floor inside too. You'll notice that there's a liquid simulator displacing as people walk around. So the motion from people is being captured and fed into the visuals of the piece. And then John's beautiful 432 hertz music has a random step sequencer. So as we said, it's generative, it's being kind of generated live all the time. The changing of the notes in the music slightly affects the geographical position of each tree as well. So there's a few things going on there. We're not recording audio, and I did tinker with having it work both ways, where the movements will also change the audio. Everything I did just made John's lovely tunes sound worse, so I've left it alone. So the music affects the visuals, and motion affects the visuals. So and the visuals too, I should say, were essentially scored to the music. You know, John gave me the music first. I had a kind of a different idea in my head, and then I was listening to this really meditative sound, and just began to see it in my head quite differently. So the music came first, and then the visuals were paced and kind of angled and everything to that music. So the music is kind of driving everything, and then, as I said, collaborative motion through the space. If we work together, raising, lowering, the hands moving around will also significantly impact the movement of the trees. Sometimes in a pretty chaotic way, sometimes it's beautiful. Yes, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Backing up. Backing away slowly. Yeah, any other questions?
No?
Take a look, yeah.
We can go and have a look.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, we'll turn off this microphone so you'll have to talk to us face to face.
Yes, scary. Thanks, gang.